First of all, thanks to Twat Publishing for inviting me up here, man. I'm really enjoying this. My first time here. Hello, everybody. I don't want to drop you in the middle of this story without giving you a really brief introduction. The story is called Dex Puncher, American Hero versus the Deadly Dreadnought, A Bloody Dog's Tale, which is about as long as the excerpt itself. But the story's about a man masquerading as an American tourist in France when the Kaiser attacks in World War I, thereby trapping him in France. Therefore, he becomes a mercenary fighting against the Kaiser, more specifically the evil Commandant von Slit and his ultimate war machine, the Dreadnought, which is like this 200-foot tall rumbling factory with gun turrets and everything. It's pretty unstoppable. So Dex launches an attack against it, sends his crew, which is the Bloody Dogs, down to the lower part of the foundry while he sneaks into the upper control deck because he's got mysterious personal business of his own to handle up there, which might give you a little bit of insight as to who Dex Puncher really is and whether or not he's actually the American hero that everyone seems to think he is. As we catch up to him, he has just destroyed the evil Commandant's robot guards called the Manosaurs and is now hanging out the window 200 feet above the earth trying to avoid, you know, plummeting to his death. Placing his feet on the side of the Dreadnought's head, he began struggling back inside, but something stopped him. Words. He heard words, and they were all too familiar. Dex looked up through wild, glistening eyes to see Commandant von Slit staring down at him. His silver teeth bore open in a grin, the black glass eyeball twinkling and wet. A hand offering assistance. Yes, Dex knew those words all too well. I hoped you would return. Staring up into that grotesque face, contemplating the hand reaching for him, Dex sneered, I've only come back to put an end to this. Von Slit grinned like the devil and said, You betrayed a fatherland, and now you betray your own tongue, I see. I'm not one of you. Oh, but you are. Come, let me help you as I have so many times before. Dex grimaced, but capitulated, taking Von Slit's hand and being pulled back inside. Once on his feet, Dex moved away from Von Slit, who went to a communication trumpet and called down in German, Captain Heffenschlag, you may activate the secondary bridge control and continue with the attack. He switched it off and gleamed back at Dex. Dex felt the Dreadnought lurch back into motion, its cantankerous infrastructure rocking to and fro. They were moving again, would reach the Somme River in minutes. Von Slit's glare was insinuating. He muttered, You are the one they call Geister des Krieges? Spirits of war. Dex replied, Yeah, that's me, but not so much as you, Commandant. Von Slit regarded the wreckage of the Manosaurs, his personal guard, and grumbled with humility, You will not convince my Manosaurs of that. Impressive handiwork you have. Makes me proud, actually. But who better than their creator to understand so effectively how to destroy them? I but almost believe you designed them with a fault, for you knew one day you would return to face them. It was simple. A little fuel, a little fire, destroys anything. You taught me that. Even your precious Dreadnought. Von Slit shook a finger at him. I think it will not be so easy. You especially must agree, no? Dex chuckled without humor. Not even the Geister des Krieges could destroy Dreadnought, Von Slit said, his words edged with a twist of threat. Dex lowered his brow as if accepting the challenge and muttered, We'll see. Von Slit smiled apathetically and said, I should have known you were not dead. There was no body, no sign of death, and now I know. His expression went disgusted. Why? How could you leave your homeland at the cusp of such greatness? Dex's eyes went down, began peering into a painful past. Memories he had buried away. I didn't leave, he grumbled. I just didn't stick around. Von Slit went angry in a quiet, menacing way. Call it what you will, but nevertheless, it is treason. And now you return to destroy what you once built? That is a sin against the Vaterland, and you are a traitor. Dex's eyes went up. A traitor? Against what? Germany? The Vaterland? If Von Slit had his way, the Vaterland would burn the whole world with his new toy, this iron beast burped up from hell. Dex shook his head. No. The dreadnought was not some creature from hell. It came out of his own mind, built up by his own hand. Years he'd spent designing it, patching it together, assembling it into being. Indeed, Dex himself had pieced the 1,000 parts of it together in a shining new exhibition of man's greatest technological formulation. No army of man could stand against the dreadnought. They could only bow to it. And for what? So Von Slit and the Vaterland could replace the very idea of God with this piece of idolatry? It was Babylon. It was Babel. It was perfect sacrilege. Only hell was next for Von Slit and his legion, but not Dex. No way. Dex's eyes went up and there was flame in them. No, I am not a traitor. Not to God, not to this world, not to man, and not to the Fatherland. You are. Von Slit only snickered, unaffected. Rubbing his hands together, he approached Dex. The Iron Cross does not bend, it does not yield. You will forever be Deutscher. Therefore, you will forever be a traitor, because no matter what new person I see before me, you will always be Dr. Gruber von Slit, my brother. Dex launched at him, snarling like a beast. But Von Slit shielded himself with a thrust of his own, catching the younger Von Slit by the upper region and sending him sprawling to the ground. Dex growled, shook it off, spun around, but Von Slit slighted him with a sudden menacing gunpoint. There was sadness in his gaze. It lingered. I had so badly hoped that when you returned, we would be together again, and we would rule this nation, then the world. But I see you have made your choice, brother, and now I must make mine. A look of duty soon replaced the sadness in Von Slit's glare, and he said, and now, my brother, I must kill you. Dex offered a slow, mournful grin, moving his eyes onto Von Slit's trigger finger, watching for the tiniest motion, putting all his focus on the sinew under the knuckle, waiting for the tiniest slip of flesh. And there it was. Bam! Dex's final act in life was to throw his right hand up over his face, then wilt down into the lax pose of death. Wow. Von Slit stood over the lifeless body of his brother, glaring down with a sense of dark closure. He nudged him with a toe. No response. Von Slit kneeled down. Brother, I am sorry. A fist came up in a flash, sending Von Slit sprawling to the floor. His glass eyeball popped out of his head and landed with a grotesque boink, while the gun in his hand clattered to the floor. Dizzy, he shook it off and looked up. Dex stood over him, hand forward. His glove? A steel mesh palm sutured together with tight chromium and iron conglomerate material. The butt end of a bullet wedged inside. My name is Dex Puncher. He leaned down, picked up Von Slit's gun, and leveled it at him. In Dex's face was a look entirely alien to his older brother. In it was the dread of what must be done. Dex trembled like a man being ripped into two halves. On one side was duty, the other, kinship. He shook his head, lowered the sidearm, and muttered, brothers to the flesh. Von Slit nodded through his shame and grunted, brothers to the bone. Dex threw the sidearm away.
What?
That's when the explosion made its way up through the floor of the control room, rattling the entire steel world of the dreadnought. Dex was taken off his feet as the entire tower began wheeling forward. Through the control window, he could see the Earth's horizon begin to shift, the ground below slowly come up at them. The dreadnought was falling.
Oh,